Look at this view from Museum Park. Here's all the things going on at Museum Park. I'm listening to Dean on Film and WGN. And look at the beautiful view. I love this building with the blue at the top. And yeah, I'm always down here in middle of the morning, early, and there's always a car behind me interrupting my video. I call these terrorists. So, look at the statue here. Listen to Morgan. Morgan can give the boat report. Truly. Marcus does roller coasters. Morgan does that. Lauren, she can get into the legal report. Truly. She can write legal and everything else. So Morgan can do all kinds of boat report. There's a cruise ship out there right now. So it's outside the, what do they call it? The break wall. And it's out there on the lake cruising. Wouldn't that be awesome? Sunrise cruise. I would do it in a heartbeat. Taking a beautiful cruise on Lake Michigan. It stops and it sits there and you get to watch the sunrise as they serve breakfast to you. Truly. You get, and then on the weekends they can do morning mimosas with champagne. And the champagne can be minimum alcohol or alcohol free. Can be sparkling cider. But again, I'm here at the Adler Planetarium. And, you know, I love this place. And you have a statue right here. I don't know what this statue is. But this is where me and Jen used to do our morning jogs. And we jog right along this area. Truly. And you can't see the cruise ship right now. Oh, there you go. You can see it right here. There's the cruise ship. Let's see if I can get it into the camera. It's right there. Looks really small, but it's actually bigger. And yeah. What people are doing down here at 4:55 in the morning, I used to jog here. Truly, we did our early morning jogs with Jen, be up jogging the lakefront and everything. So I guess it must be early morning joggers. But you get the beautiful view of the lakefront. And so, look at the view of the city of Chicago. And then this building here, I was told, was built by, and this was by Ann Fan and Alice Fan. They said this was funded by a Chinese development company. They funded this building, that really tall building that stands out. What views of the lake it must have. Incredible. It stands out all by itself along the skyline of Chicago. And I was told it was funded by an Asian development company. So, here's the Shedd Aquarium on the backside. And you can see the Congress Hotel from here. So, right there. It's the Congress Hotel. Now, it's got good signage. And it's on Congress by the Buckingham Fountain. And, you know, there's a lot going on. And then the Shedd Aquarium has a crane here. And obviously they're doing expansion. So it's great. And then the harbor that's over here. And I don't know what this harbor is called. But again, you can open up a great retail store right here that caters to all the people at the harbor. And I don't know why you wouldn't. And again, we used to jog through here. Solidarity, this is called, together. And that's what I need with a woman, being solidarity. That's what the Bible talks about, two becoming one. Look at all the boats. Some beautiful boats out here. And let's see the name of the harbor. I forget the name of the harbor, but there's some beautiful boats out here. And if you're in a boat sale business, where do they buy boats? Where do you go to buy? Now, they have the boat show that comes to Chicago. It's the boat and RV show, but where do you go downtown to buy a boat? I mean, truly, you can just have a walk-in center. You don't need the physical boats. You can take them on a virtual tour of the boats. But again, where do you go in Chicago to buy watercraft? I have no idea. Where do you go to buy watercraft in Chicago? Where are all these boats coming from? So why isn't there a store in Chicago selling boats? And here, this is the Judd Goldman Sailing Center. Okay. So there's a few sailboats out here. And then you got Northerly Island, which you can see the stage, which I'll go down by. But look at Soldier Field right there. And all the offices, that can become an office complex, and it can become a military museum. So they can convert it into an office complex and a military museum. It's a great place to put offices right on top of Museum Park, and it'll bring a lot of people. You can go out to the Field Museum and Shedd Aquarium and the planetarium and all that. And then they have Northerly Island down here. Now Northerly Island right here, it's the Huntington Bank Pavilion. And again, they should be including this in Lollapalooza, just like they should be including Soldier Field in Lollapalooza for bigger acts. And like I said, you can have a theatrical play on a football field. We enacted, I think, Caesar, or maybe Romeo and Juliet, I forget. But at Deerfield High School, we did it outdoor and built the stage on the football field. So you can have a really big theatrical play at Soldier Field. And so can you have at Northerly Island. It's just not for music events. You can have big outdoor theatrical plays here, like they have the stage at Millennium Park, and they can have outdoor music there, but they can also have big outdoor theatrical plays. So here's the Huntington Pavilion, and all of this should be part of Lollapalooza. And you can take your boat up, and they can, you can take your boat up here to, all these events. You can come down here by boating. You can boat across from Michigan and come down and hang out. My friend Brett Packus, he grew up in New Trier. He went into the into the military, and he served, I forget if he went to West Point or he went to one of the academies. And here's some more boats. Great view. Some beautiful boats out here. And my friend that's in Florida, he can bring his boat cleaning and detailing company up here. And they can get into boat renovation and restoration. He can pair up with my friend Jack as a remodeler. And Jack could got into remodeling boats. He didn't need to go into farming. He should have stayed in remodeling. So, again, he could have remodeled farms, truly, and did all kinds of remodeling. Farms need to be remodeled. Barns need to be modernized and everything. So you have all this down here. So I don't know why you wouldn't come up and come down here, and you can come to the McCormick show, and they should advertise this. There's McCormick. You can come down here for a convention on your boat. You can come up through Louisiana So if you want to do it, you can boat from Florida over to Louisiana and Alabama or anywhere along the southern border. Even if you wanted to come from New York, the easiest way is go from New York, boat to Louisiana, and then go up the Mississippi to the Illinois and then to the Chicago River, and you can end up at McCormick Place. So why don't you take your boat up and do business on your boat and travel back and forth from locations, and then once you're in the ocean, you can go up to the, all over by boat. You can literally have a portable office on a boat and travel the country as a sales team on your boat and dock in different harbors. Google can have its sales team, a sales team on boat, and they can sell all kinds of stuff to different marinas. Truly, different marinas. So you have a team, a sales team. You buy a boat, like we have the Sea of the Green. Here's a big boat. Right here, it says Sea of the Green. But you have a sales team that comes up and travels to all the different harbors. So they can start in New York and work their way around and then come up the rivers and then stop in Chicago and do the harbors. And then you can travel up the Mississippi, back to the Mississippi, and go up to St. Louis and so on. And then you can go up the Colorado River from Texas. And there's a lot of entry points. And yes, that's why you have harbor patrol or river patrol in that. But this is part of enjoying living here. And you can get a lot of sales teams that can work out of boats for all kinds of different industries, and it has nothing to do with boating. You could just have a sales team that you put on a boat, and they do cruises on the boat to go to different places to sell to, say you're coming to the city of Chicago, like for a convention. Rent the boat out of Florida. Rent the boat out of Florida. And you can come down here through California or come down from Canada on a boat, and you can come right to Chicago. And you can make an adventure and stopping on all these places along the way. So again, and they need all kinds of services, waste management at all these different marinas. And the boats need to be pumped out of raw sewage. So it's not just picking up the trash, it's getting rid of all the raw sewage. And then they need all kinds of mechanical work and detail work, and there's so much going on. And again, think about that. I mean, Google could have a team that works on a big yacht. Truly. And they go around and they check out the satellite on open oceans and lakes and rivers. And they can work and check out Verizon and T-Mobile and all the connections on the oceans and on the rivers. They can check out the satellite phone because Google has a phone, but they support with their Android all the different phone companies from Samsung to LG to whatever. And so they navigate and they go out there and they check out, like Verizon says, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And Google travels on the boat checking out the connection from cellular and satellite along the waterways. Truly. And then they can have a team that checks out Wi-Fi connection for Comcast. So I'm on a phone that's by Samsung that has Android that's supported by Comcast. So it's Comcast that does cable, but they also have a cellular network. They have a Wi-Fi network, and they work with Google because of Android. And so all of them are in business together. And so Google can check out the connections and help them modernize. They're doing fiber optics, but they can, again, get them into integrating and advancing cable networks as well. AT&T does fiber optics, and Google sells Android phones to them too, or their system. So, I mean, they're touching a lot. So having a team that works off of the yacht that is Google, and isn't that an exciting job? Like one team would work on the rivers. You would have a smaller crews that worked on the rivers and lakes, and another team that worked on the oceans. And that would expand Google's business and perfect all these systems that they're running, not only for Google military, for military, because they have to provide Wi-Fi to the military. I mean, satellite services and cellular services and so on. But they also provide it to all commercial airlines and that. So there's a lot of stuff going on that they can expand into. And because they were good to God, I like to be good to Google. I was mad at them at times, but again, I always remembered how they protected the missionaries and how they protected the Christian church. And now it makes me want to cry. But so I have a warm fuzzy towards Google for doing that. So I'm a Christian and I feel indebted. So I mentioned them a lot because of that. And so they stood up, and that made a huge impression on me. They stood up for protecting the church from persecution. So that made a huge impression. Protecting the good guys. So they pulled out of China to protect the Christian church and the Christian missionaries. They stayed in Hong Kong, and I met the girl that runs Google in Hong Kong. She came down here and talked at UIC for my nephew's graduation. Now, I didn't physically meet her. I just heard her speech, and it was a great graduation speech. She was a great public speaker, and she talked about running Google in Hong Kong. So if you say Google doesn't empower women, well, she's running their operations in Hong Kong. So Larry and Sergey empower women. So I have a strong, appreciation for their integrity and, the good things they've done. So it takes a lot when you're going to leave one of the largest markets in the world because they violate a moral code. It means that Google has great moral integrity. They're not going to sell out. And this is the problem I had with Tim Cook when he failed to open the cell phone to stop further terrorist action. They were already proven. They did terrorist action. It wasn't a question if they were terrorists. They were terrorists, and when the next terrorist event was, and Apple has all kinds of employees in the United States, and it could have been an Apple installation. So I was pissed. I've always hated him since then. I didn't like his moral choice, but once he did that, I've never forgot it and hated his guts ever since. And thank God they found somebody to break it. Oh yeah, they broke Apple's encryption. So, again, they broke it. But I've hated his guts ever since. I am not a supporter of him. I am his enemy. I hate his fucking guts. And how he stands at the top of Apple is beyond me. There should be a shareholder revolt kicking that motherfucker out and putting a restraining and gag order on him. But anyways, he wasn't a hero. So I'm down here, and you have Central Station, and you have the parks, which, think about all these buildings right here. If they preserve the park, what do? They preserve the status of their buildings. If they preserve the park and enrich the park, all these buildings along Michigan Avenue and Randolph and right here in Central Station, they preserve all that view, all that ambiance. It's like the buildings that are around Central Park. This is very key in enhancing this. And Michael Nedved, have you ever heard of him? He's a radio talk show host. He was railing against bums in Seattle and how they were destroying the park and destroying the city. Michael Nedved constantly, his wife's a psychologist. He is a Republican. He's a talk show host, and he was railing against the bums and wanted Seattle to get rid of all the bums. And he was pointing out how they were destroying the parks, loitering in the parks, making people afraid in the parks. People are afraid the benches were filthy. They were pissing and pooping and doing all kinds of things in the park, causing all kinds of biological hazards. But, I guess, go into Michael Nedved's archives. He hates bums. He hates bums. So, again, I have a lot of friends that hate bums. So, his wife is a therapist. He could have went down there, offered therapists and job opportunities, but we need to get rid of the bums and enforce vagrancy. But all these buildings down here, like the Blackstone and the Hyatt, the Hilton and Prudential, if the park goes away, you don't see that Prudential sign. And so it is very important they enhance and protect the parks. So all these buildings down here should be friends with Friends of the Park, which I disagreed with them with the George Lucas Museum. I thought they could have found another place within the parks in the city where they could have put the museum. He wanted on the lakefront. It would have been huge to have the George Lucas Museum. I went to 2 meetings about getting it, and I was a big supporter. And so was Chinatown in Chicago. So was Chinatown, a big supporter of getting the George Lucas Museum. So the Chinese community in Chinatown was very much behind that. Now, the Friends of the Park won, but I disagreed with them in that aspect. It could have great revenue into the parks if they positioned it correctly. But all these buildings, there's the Congress Plaza Hotel. And, every year I pass by, they used to have a strike that went on for more than a year outside. And I couldn't stand it because it looked so bad for the city having this continuous labor dispute right outside the hotel on the Michigan Avenue with all these tourists coming in. It wasn't good for the hotel. I'm so glad they got over that labor dispute. And somebody should renovate that hotel and relish the Chicago hot dog. I love the Chicago hot dog, but there's no hot dog carts. You go to New York, there's all kinds of hot dog carts. And yes, you got to throw out your trash in the trash. But again, I don't understand. There's no hot dog places here. Do you know there's not a single hot dog place along Michigan Avenue? From the beginning all the way down, you can keep on going. There's no hot dog places. Not a single hot dog place. There's hot dog places on State, not on Michigan Avenue, not a single hot dog place. So why can't there be hot dog carts? Truly. And that makes people want to walk around more because they can get a food and beverage when they walk around. And if The museums have clean bathrooms and that. Truly, like I walk around in New York and you have the hotels and everything else, and they have great clean bathrooms. The parks can have immaculate bathrooms. I'll pay for a clean bathroom. I paid for a bathroom in Europe, in the Netherlands, in Europe, and you could eat off the bathroom floor in the Netherlands. I was so impressed. I paid for this bathroom, and it was incredibly clean. And that's where I wrote the city of Chicago about the idea that the public bathrooms can be paid for and can be incredibly clean. Use that for the janitorial services and amenities to make the bathrooms better. So that money comes in and goes right back into maintaining and making the bathrooms better and protecting public safety. So again, make them paid for, and then you can buy these 24-hour, and they can have camera services in the bathroom, truly, that use infrared sensors that can tell when the bathroom needs to be clean. And they can automate with Roombas and that if they want. They have the ones that clean the floors. So, and they can use infrared sensors. But making these things and cleaning the toilets and that, Mayor Daley was all for that. That's one big thing I remember, making sure all the bathrooms were incredibly clean. This is critical in protecting public safety. But again, let's go down here. And all these buildings, like here, you have the Prudential building. And it says it on the side in the gold letters. Prudential was good to me. Truly. My wholesaler, George, until the last issue. But here's Wilson Sporting Good. I used to deliver pizza. They have an office up in Chicago by Park Ridge as well. That's where I met CJ. CJ used to work with me. She was a black girl, married to a white guy. She's lighter skinned, but me and CJ get along great. And I met her, she doesn't know this, but I met her on the elevator while I was delivering a pizza. The